What's up, cool people? Welcome to another game review. Today, I'm gonna be reviewing this game called When the Past Was Around. It is, as you can see from the little, moving, almost mouse pointer-like thing, this is what's called a point-and-click game. So, I don't want to start a brand new game, but I will go into the chapters and basically start it from the beginning. So, with it being a point-and-click game, the main way that you play the game is moving the mouse pointer around and, interacting with different objects. The quote-unquote click is more so pressing the A button on an Xbox controller. But really, in a lot of ways, it's more interactive story the way that this is laid out. Like, most point-and-click games kind of are, but this one even more so. Like, it doesn't give you, like, a ton of puzzles to solve with your pointing and clicking. I mean, there are some, I guess you could say, but, like, most of them are not particularly complicated and or, complex in that there's a lot of moving parts around or anything like that. So yeah, you hover the little mouse pointer over certain things, you press A, or I'm sure if you're on PC you would just actually click, and that'll do stuff. I don't want to get too much into the story of this game because that really is like the main kind of driving force of it, you might say. But the main thing that you need to know is that, the story revolves around, this character here, this young lady, and just something that happened in her life involving what I can only assume is this shadowy figure, who eventually gets revealed as a particular person who's important to her later on. I need to find another key somewhere, or something like that. Right. Put the rug back there. Keep things kind of organized. Yeah, so sometimes, you get objects that kind of get added to your inventory, so to speak, and then you use those objects to interact with certain other things. And then these feathers are usually sort of like your room/story progress markers. I could definitely categorize, I would say this game probably fits into the, cozy game category, as, like, the general vibe for most of it is rather just, like, comfy, cozy, sort of, like, imagine this sort of thing that's going on here. That kind of vibe that's being displayed on this little, like, couch futon kind of thing here with these two characters. That's the kind of feel that a lot of this game gives you. I will say the game is rather short. I was able to play the entire thing in about 2 hours on a live stream that I did. And that was having no idea how any of the puzzles worked, or, you know, where to find any of the stuff. Really was. Okay. Occasionally you do get some minor puzzles to complete here and there, like that I have to also then go find some pieces to. But on the whole, it's fairly simple. Like, not really going to take you too long to figure out most of the time. And again, really, the story's kind of the main drive of it, so I don't necessarily want to go too much further. I will say, just regarding the story, that it does get a bit... It's a bit sad at some moments, but, like, eventually that turns into something more positive just because that's how the story progresses. That's... You're dealing with a sort of sad event that happened to our main female character here, whose name I forget. But ultimately, I think in that kind of way, there's almost, like, sort of a lesson that you could learn from it. And the game's rated E for everyone. So, yeah, in fact, there is absolutely no dialogue in this game, so you don't have to worry about bad language. And, yeah, there's nothing that really, like, would be inappropriate for any kind of age group. Some of the... I mean, solving some of the things might take a little bit of figuring out to do. Okay, real quick. 1 4 3 4 6 4 1. 1 4 3 4 6 4 1. 1 4 3 4 6 4 1. Okay, sorry. So there's a couple of little things like that here and there that might take a little bit more brain power. So certainly not every age group is going to be able to figure this out in a heartbeat or anything like that, but again, there's nothing really, like, content-wise that's inappropriate about this game for any kind of audience. So, there really isn't too much else to say about the game. It is fairly short, like I said, but, like, for the length that it is, it's an enjoyable experience pretty much all throughout, unless you find yourself really, really stuck on a certain part. But, yeah, I really only had, like, one moment like that in the game, and that was because it introduced a new bit of controlling things in just one specific scene that was never used at any other point in the game. I don't think this really counts as a spoiler. There's a certain part in the game where you find yourself around a campfire and there's telescopes that you're supposed to look through. In that part, and only in that part of the game, you use the right stick to move your view, you know, where you're pointing the telescope as you're looking through it. Everything else, the entire rest of the game, is left stick and A. Literally all the rest of it. Maybe B to back out of some things. So, yeah, that was the one part that got me tripped up. But otherwise, there shouldn't really be too much that would get most people stuck for a significant amount of time. Also, right, you can also press and hold Y to show the different things you can interact with. So that also helps with any part where you might get a little bit stuck and you might miss something. It doesn't necessarily show everything you can interact with, but most of it. Especially most of the stuff that's important for progressing. But anyway. So, yeah. Lest I get further into the story and ruin some of that for you, I think I'm actually going to wrap up my review there. The main problem is just the length of the game. It's really short, all things considered. Now, there are some extra, like, if I go into the achievements here real quick, there's some stuff that you're not necessarily going to get just by default when playing through the game. So there is a little bit of replayability there, but otherwise, pretty short. I did actually check the price on this, and it's about $8.50 on the, like, Microsoft Store or whatever. So, it's a bit expensive for the amount of game that, or for the amount of time that you would probably spend on the game, but, like, it's not so high up that I think it's completely unreasonable. If it goes on sale at any given point, I'd maybe recommend getting it then, because again, the story and the overall experience is actually pretty good for the length that it is. And I especially if you're into more like almost artistic feeling kind of games that are, you know, not everything's spelled out for you. There's no dialogue in this game. So really, your understanding of the events are somewhat left up to your interpretation, although it seems like there's, you know, there's a somewhat obvious flow to the story and what happens, but there are some parts of it that are open to interpretation. So there's also that I kind of like about it in a way. But anyway, so yeah, again, the main knock on it is the length. So on the whole, I'm not sure I'd give it much more than a 5, even just because of that, out of 10. Now, within the pantheon of short games, I might give this closer to like an 8 out of 10. But because it's really short, in the broader scope of the gaming scene, I gotta give it more like a 5, because again, it is pretty darn short. But like, that's pretty much balancing game length being like a 2 out of 10 with actual like quality of what's in the game being probably more like an 8. So anyway, yeah, there's really not too much else to say. I mean, you saw kind of how the game works. I don't want to get too much into the story again, because that's kind of like one of the main things, really one of the best parts of this game. Probably even the main reason you play the game is because of the story. But anyway, I digress. So, yeah. I guess, lest I get into any more of that story or do anything else that might spoil some things in that regard, I think I'm gonna wrap up the review there. So that's gonna do it for today's game review. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Share it with others if you want them to see. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get updates when I post new videos. If you happen to see this on Rumble, just give me a follow there. Make sure you look down in the description too to get information on, you know, finding and following other social media pages of mine. And below that, leave comments with any thoughts you have, other games you might want me to play through and or review, thoughts on previous games that maybe I've played through, and didn't leave a review that you'd maybe like to see that specifically. But whatever thoughts you have, let me know down below. So anyway, that's going to do it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you for the next video. But until then, stay cool, people.